Now we're going to address the pretty important topic, basically how do you connect remotely to your Raspberry Pi. So there are a couple of ways that you can do it. The first one we're going to look at is doing an SSH connection to your Raspberry Pi, and essentially you connect via a terminal using the built-in terminal that's on the Mac, or you could download Putty for Windows and you're able to SSH to the Raspberry Pi, and this allows you to control it remotely without actually using it plugged into a monitor. So this is very handy if you want to run scripts and so on. What's even more robust is we can use a VNC client. So the actual Raspberry Pi has a VNC server viewer that's built in, that comes installed by default. And if you remember, when we were setting up the options in the configuration, we turned on the actual VNC interface, so that's built in by default, which is pretty cool. It's a very useful feature, and we'll see how to set all of that up to connect to your Raspberry Pi remotely from another PC. In fact, that is what I'm doing to record the videos for this course. So I'm on my Mac here, and actually I've connected via VNC client to the Raspberry Pi, and that's how you're able to see the screen. Basically, whatever is being shown from the output from the HDMI port on the Raspberry Pi is what you're seeing here. So the first thing that you'd need to do is get the IP address, or the Internet Protocol address that was assigned to your Raspberry Pi. And the easiest way to get that is if you hover over your Raspberry Pi, you would see at the top for the Wi-Fi, there you see that IP address. For me is 192.168.43.125. That's one way you can get the IP address, which is the easiest way. The other way is if you open up a terminal, you could type in ifconfig, and you should see the IP address show up here as well. As you can see, look for the WLAN 0, and again you can see the 192.168.43 and 125, right? So that's another way you can also get the IP address. So you need to make a note of that, because that is what we'll be using to do our SSH connection, or we will also use that to set up our VNC viewer.